So I do a lot of presenting, usually with financial advisors, and explaining what we do, what debt restructuring is, because what we do is really a mystery to the not only the general public, but even the financial industry. A lot of accountants don't understand debt restructuring. It's not because there's something wrong with them. It's not something they think about. And financial advisors, I find, really don't understand debt restructuring because it's not something they focus on when they're learning about mutual funds and life insurance and so forth. So a very common question is, how much debt is the right amount of debt before someone engages restructuring? And I have to tell them it's not really the amount that's the driving force. The amount matters. Someone calls me up and says, "Hey, I owe $1,500 of debt." Well, you know, you're not going bankrupt, that's for sure, and you don't need a proposal. You may be looking at something called a settlement, where you're trying to sort of kung fu fight with the creditors and try to bring that down. Though even at 1,500 is pretty hard. So it's kind of a two-part answer. The short answer is most clients will have somewhere between $10,000 and up. I've had clients, I've had people walk in here with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and we've had people walk in here with $6,000 of debt. It happens. But that's not the driving force. What compels people to seek out someone like myself or people in the restructuring industry really is not the debt itself, it's the cost of the debt. So perfect example, I seem to use 30,000 all the time. It just seems to be my favorite number. But someone has $30,000 of debt on credit cards, they're probably paying somewhere between $600 and $900 a month in just minimum payments or interest payments, or mostly interest payments. And if they're doing that, that's what's hurting them. If you can imagine for a moment someone who makes, let's say $50,000 a year. Here, call it $60,000 a year. If you're making $60,000 a year, T4 employee, standard deductions, you're probably bringing home close to $3,900, give or take, 38 something. Well, if $600 to $900 is going out the window every single month, it's going to make it a lot more difficult to pay your rent, especially if you're single. Pay your car, put gas in the car, insure that car, have internet access, your phone. You may want to actually enjoy yourself from time to time. That's what's hurting you. Ultimately, what drives people to our door and gets them to get up and do something is the cost of the debt. How much money is their debt consuming? Because at a certain point, you just start spiraling. And by spiraling, what I mean is the cost of the debt is so much, it consumes so much of your disposable income, the only way you can possibly get by is to use more debt, which increases the amount you owe, which of course increases the amount you have to pay, which means you can only get by using your credit cards, which increases what you owe, which increases what you pay, which means the only way you can get by is to use your credit cards, and so forth. And bang, you're in my office. Now, I mention that because the trigger varies depending on the product. $10,000 in high interest loans or payday loans is pretty severe. I mean, that it may only be $10,000, but that's just as bad, if not worse, than the $30,000 of debt on a credit card that I mentioned. I also mentioned the spiraling phenomenon because it flies in the face of what you may see on TV with these shows that try to show, some guru coming in and helping a couple, that's horribly in debt and, going down the tubes, and they put them on a budget. Budgeting's great. Budgeting's fabulous, but if you're spiraling, you can budget all day. I don't care. You need more money. And at a certain point, you can only get not everyone's going to get a seventh job. I have someone right now with 4. It's pretty amazing to watch how they do it all. But that's, if you want to know the answer, the typical long answer from yours truly, what is the right amount of debt? There really isn't a right amount of debt. What is driving people is the cost of that debt. When that becomes too much to bear and the only way out is to cut the debt, you can't budget your way out, you can't second, third year job way out. That's when restructuring is the only option left. Hope that helped.